The Department of Justice is fighting for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's evicting moratorium. That's after landlords argued it's unlawful. The Senate will have to wait until Saturday at noon to move forward on an infrastructure bill after failing to do so Thursday night. This comes as the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, or CBO, estimates it would increase deficits by about $256 billion over the next decade. And the Biden administration plans to unleash an all-out effort to get students over 12 vaccinated at school this fall. This comes as many states implement their own vaccine mandates. But a taxi company in Missouri has issued an anti-vaccine mandate. Only maskless unvaccinated are allowed to hail a ride. Tune into Deep Dive as we explore these topics and more. Hello and welcome. This is Deep Dive and I'm Tiffany Meier. Another player has entered the chat over the legality of the eviction ban. The Department of Justice is fighting for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's evicting moratorium. The DOJ filed its defense before the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia Friday. Landlords are suing to end the new eviction ban. They argue it's the same, quote, unlawful ban the Supreme Court recently upheld but expired July 31st. In court papers, the DOJ said this new moratorium is more targeted. It bars landlords from evicting tenants only in areas of the country with high or substantial COVID-19 transmission. Still, that covers 90% of the U.S. population. The new moratorium is supposed to end on October 3rd. This comes as the strength of U.S. labor market continues to grow. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics released its job report Friday. Last month, the country saw its biggest jobs gain since August of last year. The economy added 943,000 jobs in July. That beats economists' expectations by more than 70,000 jobs. The unemployment rate also fell to 5.4%, a new low in this pandemic. The June jobs gain was also revised up to 938,000 positions, showing the recovery has been strong all summer. And some jobs require working into the weekend. The Senate will have to wait until Saturday at noon to move forward on an infrastructure bill after failing to do so Thursday night. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer appears to be giving lawmakers a day to negotiate. After that, he wants to vote on shutting down debate on the $1.2 trillion plan.
The Senate has considered 22 amendments during this process, and we've been willing to consider many more, but have encountered numerous objections from the other side. However, we very much want to finish this important bill.
Senators failed to reach an agreement on all those amendments Thursday. One amendment getting a lot of attention involves cryptocurrency. It would raise an estimated $28 billion over 10 years by updating IRS reporting requirements for crypto brokers. Some are concerned it would affect crypto miners and software developers too, hurting the development of the technology. The overall bill calls for about $550 billion in new spending over 5 years. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, or CBO, estimates it would increase deficits by about $256 billion over the next decade. Senator Marco Rubio tweets the massive infrastructure bill is not, as its authors claim, fully paid for. But bipartisan negotiators say the CBO is limited in what it can include in its formal score, and it might not reflect all of the savings and new revenue. Republican Senator Ted Cruz isn't convinced.
As Admiral Akbar said in Star Wars, it's a trap!
He says it includes $21.5 billion to create a new office at the Department of Energy called the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations,
which would give President Biden's Secretary of Energy the power to use taxpayer dollars to invest in whatever green energy initiative she likes.
60 votes are needed Saturday to end debate on the bill. Final passage could happen as early as that day. If senators wrap that up, they'll turn to the next phase, the partisan $3.5 trillion proposal. Debate on that could last into the fall, so it's unclear if Republicans will block the bill this weekend. Now, staying in the Capitol, the White House is pushing back against the latest advice from the World Health Organization. The Director General of the WHO on Wednesday urged wealthier nations, including the U.S., to prioritize addressing provided more doses to poorer nations. But White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki pushed back, saying the WHO is offering a false choice between developing booster shots and providing vaccines to poor nations. Psaki said, "We definitely feel that it's a false choice and we can do both. Also in this country, we have enough supply to ensure that every American has access to the vaccine. The U.S. will have enough supply to ensure if the FDA decides that boosters are recommended for a portion of the population to provide those as well. This comes as Moderna says booster shots will likely be necessary soon. Now, as for those who haven't gotten the shot, kids could be getting vaccines as soon as the upcoming school year. The Surgeon General has said he believes it's likely that a COVID-19 vaccine for children under 12 will be given emergency use authorization during the next school year. The Biden administration announced a major initiative to get kids vaccinated at school this fall. They plan to host vaccine clinics at schools and have pediatricians offering vaccines at back-to-school night. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona says he wants pop-up vaccine clinics at every school in the country. He tells CNN the administration is doing everything they can to get more kids vaccinated. The administration also plans a major promotion campaign to encourage parents to get their kids vaccinated. They are working with school districts, teachers, students, celebrities, and others to promote vaccines. And Cardona says he'll try to find common ground with leaders in states that banned mask mandates.
You know, we all share the same goal. We want our students in the classroom safely. And, we're going to work with the Department of Education. We'll work with Florida, with Texas. There are students, too.
Currently, the vaccines only have emergency approval, but a priority review would allow the FDA to give full approval in just 6 months, a process the agency started with the Pfizer vaccine in July. The FDA's acting commissioner has said the agency plans to complete its Pfizer review even earlier than the 6-month deadline. Cardona and Second Gentleman Douglas Emhoff will publicly kick off the campaign next week when they visit a back-to-school vaccine clinic in Topeka, Kansas. And as to people visiting the U.S., the White House confirmed it is considering requiring foreign visitors to the U.S. to show proof of vaccination against the virus. Meanwhile, in the U.S., Fauci has moved the herd immunity goalpost. He is now calling for 90% vaccinated. To achieve that, Fauci said that the Biden administration will need to rely on vaccine mandates at the local level. Following Fauci's announcement, Massachusetts announced a new vaccine mandate for most nursing home workers. It applies to all staff in the state's 378 skilled nursing facilities and 2 soldiers' homes. Connecticut is drafting an order to the same effect. The governor said the requirement is a priority for his administration. As to Illinois, the governor announced that the state will be imposing a pre-K to 12 school mask requirement regardless of vaccination status. There's also a vaccine mandate for all state workers in congregate settings by October 4th. Masks will be mandatory for all indoor extracurricular activities and sports, but will not be required outdoors. And the West Coast is thinking of following in the footsteps of the Big Apple. Los Angeles City Council members introduced a bill with requirements similar to the ones New York City has. It would require people aged 16 and older to have received at least 1 vaccine dose to gain access to indoor public spaces. Such indoor spaces include restaurants, bars, retail establishments, fitness centers, spas, and entertainment centers. Now, as to the federal level, the Pentagon expected to mandate vaccination for troops as soon as this week. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin will likely ask for a presidential waiver in order to mandate the vaccine before it is fully approved by the FDA. And what about businesses? Yelp has added a new feature that lets businesses list whether they require proof of COVID vaccination from customers and whether all workers are fully vaccinated. Yelp users can then filter their searches for businesses by those attributes. Only businesses themselves can add the attributes to their Yelp page. Yelp says it will monitor the pages of businesses that decide to use the attributes for any backlash for their vaccination policies. It says they will protect them from reviews that primarily criticize the COVID health safety measures they enforce, instead of reviewing their actual first-hand experience with the business. But some business owners in North Carolina will not implement the vaccine mandates for employees. Instead, these businesses say vaccinations are recommended but not required. Some also won't ask customers to wear masks indoors. And what about anti-vaccine mandates? A taxi company in Missouri is rejecting customers who are either vaccinated or are wearing masks. Charlie Bullington has been running Yo Transportation in St. Louis, Missouri for 16 years, and he recently made an unusual announcement to his passengers. Here's what he told local outlet KMOV4 on Wednesday.
We don't allow any type of masks in our vehicles. The second one, we're very against the vaccines, and we do not wish to have people in our vehicle that did the vaccines.
Before picking up passengers, Bullington says he verifies that they are not vaccinated and won't be wearing masks. He says many people have called him, voicing support for his policy. But still, around 30% of riders opt not to use his company because of this rule. Bullington points to the relatively low vaccination rate in his state and says he is very proud of the people of Missouri for standing up against the vaccine. According to the Missouri Health Department, around 49% of the total population have gotten their first shot, and 42% are fully vaccinated. Those rates are much lower than the nation as a whole, where 58% have gotten their first shot and 50% are fully vaccinated as of Thursday. Now, amid all this, what about where many people get their information? The watchdog Judicial Watch found that Facebook coordinated close with the CDC in controlling the narrative of the pandemic. That's including suppression of alleged misinformation, and gave the health agency free advertising estimated at $3 million. The watchdog filed a Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA, against the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. In return, the CDC released nearly 2,500 new documents. The watchdog found that in a March 8, 2020 email from Facebook, the CDC received 4 ad credits totaling $2 million for the purpose of supporting messaging related to the virus. The then CDC Chief Operating Officer, Sherry Berger, thanked Facebook for the $2 million in a March 14th email. Berger, in a second email sent on August 10, 2020, thanked Facebook again, this time for the $1 million of free advertising credits. The emails also showed that Facebook gave the CDC $3 million in free advertising credits that allowed the health agency to run CCP virus campaigns on Facebook and Instagram. While the CDC acknowledges the in-kind donation from Facebook in the emails, the donations were not listed in its fiscal year 2020 gifts to the CDC. The CDC, Twitter, Google, and Facebook did not reply to requests for comment. And before we end, let's travel to another planet. NASA is giving us a ground-level view of the red planet. The space agency released this photo of Mars' raised ridges Wednesday. The Ingenuity helicopter captured the aerial view. Scientists say the environment has fractures similar to what we would see on Earth's desert. They believe it could be a clue on if Mars used to have water and was once habitable. The photo follows the Mars rover's longest drive around the planet. NASA's Perseverance drove around for 358 feet, taking photos every 16 feet. But what do you think? Let me know below. Thanks for tuning in to Deep Dive. I'm Tiffany Meier, and have a wonderful weekend.